All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the LetsHeal podcast. I have a special guest here and some other people, or at least one other person, joining us shortly. So stay right where you are. All right, so we are back, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Let's Heal podcast. I am Tyrell, and today I have the honor of sitting in the presence of Miss Roberta Tabb. Before we get started on, introducing who you are, I know that we were supposed to have Caroline on tonight, but she got caught up in other or prior engagements, and Marge will be on shortly. So I'm excited about this conversation that Roberta's about to have with me, and we're about to exchange stories and things like that. So, everybody, this is Roberta Tabb. So, Roberta, tell us who you are and how, tell us a little bit about you.
Sure. Hi. Thank you for the invitation. I'm Roberta Tabb. I guess the way that we know each other is through being featured in People magazines, half their size issues.
Yeah.
I am in my 30s. I live in New York City. I am a senior web designer. I work in retail. That's what I do for a living during the day. But at night, I write cookbooks. I've published my own app. I'm all about health and wellness, positive affirmations, and motivation.
Awesome. Yeah. So, okay, a little bit of backstory on Roberta. Like she said, we both were featured in People magazine's Half Their Size issues previously. And I've been watching her and several other people for some time, and I actually threw out the idea, and I think we were talking about that before we went live, doing a wellness seminar, like almost like a where are they now kind of thing. But that was a couple years ago, and I crossed paths with somebody and connected with some other people who, I'm not really in contact with right now, but I was like, that's a great idea for people to actually see who we are in person and see, what we do and kind of connect with us off of the pages of People magazine. So when was the first time that you were featured? Because I got some magazines here, and I got the ones that I have. So when was the first time you were featured?
So I think I was like a very, very long time ago. I've been featured 5 times now, and I think the first time that I was featured was back in 2003. Really long time ago, like before I moved to New York. I'm originally from Pittsburgh. 2003. Before I started my career, I think I was in grad school at the time. So that was the first time. It was new. It was very new. It was very scary. I'm not sure if you remember 2003, but back then, what I most recall is when I was actually like losing weight, there were a lack of like tools that you could actually use to help you lose weight, right? There was no Pinterest, there was no social media. There was like no Instagram. There were no like Facebook groups. There were, everything was like brand new, it's like, oh, drink Slim Fast or take these diet pills. And that's how you lose weight, right? So I think that doing it during that time, I feel like it was just another era. I do feel that, it takes a lot of motivation, but also I literally had to figure out what was going to work for me because I couldn't find the information anywhere. And after going on, 100 diets, something like ended up sticking for me. Right. And I'm just saying all that to say that now there's literally thousands of resources every time you open your computer screen or every time you open up your phone. And it was just a lot different back then.
Yes, all the algorithms are always listening to everything, so they always know when something's going on and what you're trying to do. They know what you're trying to do while you're sleeping. So when you get up in the morning, the first thing you open up is a new exercise routine or something like that. So you said you were featured all the way back in 2003. My first feature was in 2006, so I didn't even realize that they had them like going on at that point in time. So I remember what my story was like, and we'll go more into the story. So tell me how you got to that point, like to the point where you went from just being regular Roberta Tabb, doing what you do, like you said, you're in grad school, to being featured. Like, what was your process? Because I remember my process was, it was strange, but what was your process?
What do you mean process from how I actually got to be in the magazine?
Yeah, because and what I mean, like my process, they interviewed me for like a year.
Oh.
They called me and asked me the same questions over and over again for about a year, just to, I guess, make sure that my story was legit and everything was gonna match up. And I'm like, okay, y'all called me like 3 months ago and asked me these same questions, exact same questions. So, and then when I got my first like photo shoot, like it just was like, where are you? And we want to set up a photo shoot. We're coming to you. I remember even the day of the photo shoot, like I think we were at not Gold's. It was another gym we were at, and they had a boxing ring because my first magazine, like I have the magazines here. Well, at least
no, I think I've seen it.
Yeah, so it was the boxing one, and that was back in 2006. So I remember that photo shoot like well, because the girl who was doing the makeup kept spraying water in my face, and she almost sprayed the contact out of my eye. And I was like, if you spray this contact out of my eye, this photo shoot is over because I'm not gonna be able to see.
Right.
Well, how did your process go from, what's your story behind it? Because I've always wanted to know everybody's story behind that.
Right. Okay, so it's a little bit different. Originally so it's kind of a long story, but I'll give you like the condensed version.
Yeah, we got time. So
initially, I lost 125, 30 pounds or something like that. Mm-hmm. And I went to a family friend that was a doctor because I wanted to have a breast reduction.
Okay.
Because previous I was something crazy like a 44F or something, like something crazy like that, right? So wow, yeah. At the time I was like 22 years old, and I wasn't happy with the way that my breast looked, so I went to my doctor to have a breast reduction. And he said, you're very young and you're a really good candidate, to have this breast reduction, but we can also like remove some excess skin for you if you wanted to. And I'm like, this was not on my radar at all.
Right.
This is 2003. This is before you even know these things can be done.
Exactly.
Like, oh, I lost all this weight, but I'm going to have to, carry the remains around with me because of mistakes that I made when I was younger. I mean, yeah. And this is truly like how I thought. I didn't even know it was possible at the time.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I was like, oh, okay.
Right.
So can you give me more information on it? So
well, that's a little scary. Like you went in for a breast reduction. They're talking about cutting extra stuff off.
No, exactly. I was terrified. I was like terrified. I was like, what are you talking about, sir? Like, I remember when I left, because he showed me, he like took pictures and he showed me what he could do. And yeah. When I left, I was depressed. I was literally depressed because in my mind, I think I was thinking that, oh, I'll start, I'll work out more and, the skin will go back and it won't be so bad if I get like breast reduction. I remember leaving his office and I was really depressed. Because I didn't, if you don't know, you don't know. At the time, Google is, will skin, snap back in place after you lose weight. You know
exactly.
What I mean? So, yeah, I remember being like really depressed. So after like a year,
what caused the depression? Because you felt like you had done something wrong. Like I can't undo this, and now here I am, and this is like the end all be all that I have to get this done now.
Well, not that I had to, but I felt like I had less hope. I had more hope in being ignorant and unknowing, like not knowing that, maybe one day if I work out hard enough, the skin will go back in place, you know?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it wasn't so final that, you know, what I had done to my body was going to be like, have like lasting effects like forever until like he told me that. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, so that made me like really sad.
Yeah.
But then on the upside, it was like, well, you know, there is this option, but it takes a while for you to get your mind like wrapped around that idea.
Yeah.
So after like a year or so after that, I was like, after like thinking about it and considering and stuff, I was like, okay, I guess I can, you know, and I met with him maybe 2 or 3 more times. And then I was like, oh, all right. So a really, really, really good doctor. And he asked me if I would be interested in having the procedure filmed.
Really?
Yes. So, I mean, this is like, I mean, again,
so you got your procedure filmed?
Yes.
Really? Where is this video? Like, I'm like,
this again, you have to remember, this was like,
it was 2003. Yeah.
It was before that. It was like 2002 or something. It was or 2001. It was a long time ago. Yeah. So and this is totally off my radar. Like I'm not expecting any of this. I'm a student. I'm working full time. I'm just like, oh, okay. So, okay, I guess, you know, and it ended up being filmed for a show that is no longer on the air anymore, but it was called Before and After Plastic Surgery.
Okay.
It was on like the Discovery Health Channel, like a long time ago.
And they always have, they have so many now, like they got so many, you know, different surgery shows from my favorite show, Dr. Pimple Popper, to my 600 pound. I love Dr. Pimple Popper. Watch her all day long.
I can't watch it. Yeah, but like, sure. So this was like the beginning of all that. Like this was before like Extreme Makeover. This was just very no glam or anything. It was just very like, you know, here's her story. Film the procedure. It was very similar. So they only show like, you know, bits and pieces of or whatever, and then they show like, you know, the after or whatever. So and again, this was very new.
Ooh, yeah, new and scary. It sounds scary.
It was super scary. I was a totally different person back then. So it was super scary, and all of the attention that I had got from it was like not wanted, because I'm just like, look, I lost this weight. I just want to live my life now. I just want to be and live my life, like whatever. But again, he was like he was a family friend, and I was like, and I got like a substantial like discount on like getting the surgery even done. So I was like, all right, fine. So long story short, that happened.
Before you finish, we're gonna go to a short break real quick, because Marge just joined, and we're gonna bring her in and let you finish your story so that she's included in everything. So we'll be right back, everybody. Stay right where you are. All right, we are back. Marge joined us. Hey, Marge, how are you?
I am good. How are you?
Pretty good. So we were listening to Roberta tell her story about when she first got, you know, when she first lost the weight, and we're building up to that. So I'm excited about her. So
excited to hear that.
I will let you finish that, you know, Roberta. Go ahead and finish telling us. So you just had the surgery.
Right. Okay. So I just had the surgery, and then after that, it went into like this, and like my doctor was like pretty popular. So after that, there was kind of like this like I don't want to say media blitz, but the people from the show, they wanted to put me in a commercial to promote it. I did like a photo.
Wow.
Oh wow!
I did like a photo shoot just to promote it in like magazines. So I did that. I did the commercial. I did the photo shoot for magazines, and then after that, they booked me on like the Jane Pauley show or something. I don't know if you guys remember, that was a thing like back in like 2003, 2004. But Jane Pauley was a thing. She had her own show for maybe like 2 seasons or something. And so they booked me and my doctor, I believe, on that. And then after that, I believe People magazine called, and again, this was my doctor's media blitz. Like, I had nothing to do with it at all. That was his thing. So, so then they called me, and I did the photo shoot for them, and then right after that, like I was on The View from being in People magazine. So.
Oh gosh.
So
wow.
Yeah, so it was kind of like a progression up to like this like huge thing that I had like nothing to do with, but I'm like, okay, I guess I'll go. It's an experience. I guess I'll go. Like, who's gonna say no to going on The View? Like,
exactly.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. So that's basically how it happened.
And then it brought you to 2003 when you got your first. So did they interview you? Like, did People magazine interview you, or did they just kind of like take the stories that they had already gotten from the shows and the doctor and things like that to come up with a?
I don't really remember. It definitely wasn't like your process where it took like an entire year. I feel like someone maybe called me on the phone and we had like a 45-minute conversation back and forth or something, and then maybe at the photo shoot they asked me a few more questions, and then that was it.
Wow. So, so that's how yours started. So we're gonna go to Marge, and how many times have you been featured in the magazine?
3.
Okay. So what was your process? Like I was telling Roberta before, that my process was like a year-long process. They interviewed me for like a year and asked me the same questions it felt like 90 days where I was like,
that's how I was. It's the same questions over and over and over again. And then, can we have some more pictures? Can you send some more pictures? Oh, do you have any of your fat clothes? Oh, can you send more pictures?
And
I'm like, no, I got rid of all my fat clothes. I don't have that.
And where did because my photo shoot took place in like, it was a Crunch Fitness. That's where it was. It was a Crunch Fitness in downtown Chicago, because you're in Illinois, aren't you, Marge?
Yeah, I'm in Naperville.
Yeah,
Illinois.
I was in downtown Chicago, and they had booked this Crunch Fitness for me, and they said, we're gonna send you this big roll of paper because we want to be able to have a white backdrop for you, and do you have a place where you can store it at, and do you have somebody to pick it up? And I'm like, absolutely not. Like, I'm not going to pick up your roll of paper for your backdrop to bring it to the photo shoot to make sure that people like it. I was like, no, I'm not doing all of that.
Wow, no, they flew us out to New York.
What?
And they had Ted Gibson do our makeup and our hair and do a total makeover. And then they took us out to Pier 51, I think. And that was where our shoot was. 2013. Yeah, so they flew us out and they put us up in, a nice room and stuff. And it was like a whole weekend that they had with us. And then they kept limousine us to here and there for more pictures, and then we're coming over here for those pictures, and I'm like,
really?
Yeah. And
they laid it all the way out for y'all. They were just
I tell ya.
And mine was 2006, and I'm like, they were like, you got to figure out where this Crunch Fitness is. We will have the photographer meet you there. I think they had maybe 2 or 3 changes of clothes, and like I was telling Roberta, there was a makeup artist. She was there, and I remember the photographer. Her name was Melanie Dunea, and I'll never forget her name because she sent me the proofs. And the proofs, I look like an alien. I look like a clown, alien on some. And then I was like, I hope you got a good picture because I'm not taking these pictures again. and the makeup artist kept spraying water to make it look like I was perspiring in the picture. And she kept spraying me in the eye, and I was like, I got contacts in. So you spray one of these contacts out.
Yeah, really. No, the makeup artist and everything followed us around because we had outside shoots.
Really?
Yeah, and it's like, nope, I got to fix her hair. Nope, I got to do this. Nope, I got to do that. And then they would take the pictures and stuff. And then we had 4 outfits, and they let us take them home, which I thought was really cool because, you know, I got free clothes out of it too. But yeah, it was pretty cool.
And you got free clothes too.
I know.
They told me, just show up and we're gonna keep it moving. So after you finished with the first time being featured, each of you, Roberta, you already had a whole celebrity theme going on by the time you made it to People magazine, but how did your life change? You know what I'm saying? Like, was it emotionally draining? Did it bring you, because being a personal trainer and an aerobic instructor, I always tell people that you have to learn how to visit, what's going on in your mind so that you don't go back to what brought you to where you were.
Right.
Sometimes we will lose the weight and then reality kind of sets in and gives us 30 pounds. And it's like, oh, you thought you were all that, and you were, your body changed, so your mood changed, your attitude changed, your circle changed. Let me bring you back to reality. How did, all those things change for y'all, or did it change for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think at the time that I lost weight, and the few years after that, it was really like formative years for me, since like I was finishing grad school, and then right after that, like I moved to New York, and I started like my career. So it was kind of like, I had to get to know myself all over again anyway, because when you're overweight, you're one person, and then you're a different person. You're a different person when you're going through the transformation.
Absolutely.
And then after you kind of become this other person, and you're like, well, what am I supposed to do now? But you do have all of the knowledge that you gained. You do have all the knowledge that you gained when you were going through the transformation. So you do have that, but you have to figure out what the next part of your life is, and what kind of person that you want to be, and what you want to do with all of the things that you learned during like the transformation, like, using that throughout the rest of your life. So for me, I tell people all of the time, I credit any of the success that I've had in life to being able to, lose 100 pounds on my own, like doing like literally the hardest thing that I've ever had to do. I accomplished that already, right? So if I'm going into a job interview, or, if I'm interviewing for like a freelance job or something, it's like, this can't be harder than losing 100 pounds by myself.
That's what I always say. Yep. I already did the hard part of my life.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I've already survived that. So then I reach back into that wheelhouse of like the, motivation, inspiration, and like determination to kind of like drag me like through the rest. So that's kind of how I like formed, the next part of my life, like after the transformation. Okay.
And Marge, and I see that what was your change like? Because I see that you still do your workout classes, and I see that you have a gym, don't you?
Yeah, I have a personal studio in my home.
Okay.
I specialize now with people that have 50 pounds or more to lose.
Nice.
Okay.
Because I know how intimidating it is to walk into a gym.
Yeah.
The first time I walked into a gym when I first started, I got this look from this little blonde bombshell, and she looked me up and down, and she said, "Oh, you want to join this gym?"
Oh.
And I'm like, "Oh no." I said, "You know what? I absolutely want to join this gym." I said, "You know why? Because I never want to see that look from somebody again."
Yeah, definitely.
And she didn't know what to do. She handed me the papers, and she says, "Well," I said, "No, you know what? Keep it. Just give me the papers."
Yeah.
So I want to take that away from people. So I have a Cybex machine. I have a rower, a spin bike, a treadmill, all the weights, kettlebells, everything down there. And I progressively get people going, and it's like, yeah, this is great. There's no intimidation. They can come with their friend, and if they just want to sit with me and cry for an hour, because I know what those days were like.
Yeah, definitely.
That's what we do.
Definitely.
It's like we will do either mental or physical workout.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, I start my workouts at 4:30 in the morning. And then my last client is usually at 6 or 7 in the evening. And I have an hour or two in between. But I'm busy, especially now with Zoom. I Zoom a lot.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I have clients all over. But it keeps me in the mindset that I have to keep myself going.
Definitely.
And when that pandemic started, that was really hard to do.
Yeah, I think when the pandemic started, because for me, being in the magazine, because I was only in it 3 times, and then the last time they asked me to be in the magazine, I think it was like 2018. They were doing in a magazine and like a where are they now kind of thing, and I had to turn them down because mentally I was not there. Like I was going through a really, really rough time in my life. You know, I was ending a really toxic relationship, and mentally I wasn't there. Physically, I definitely was not there. I had gained 40 pounds, and you know, the pressure of looking like what you look like in the magazine kind of weighs on you. You remember what that felt like. You know, like I wanted to lose all this weight, and here I am, and they're calling me back, and I look like before again. So, you know, now it's like, what do we do? I'm gonna have to turn you down. You know, so
yeah, but don't you think if maybe you should have been, and just maybe let people know that, hey, life happens, you know?
See, and that's why I wanted to do this, and that's why I'm become more transparent about, you know, the whole Let's Heal process, because a lot of times we forget that when your body changes physically, you also have to tackle the emotional part of it too.
Yeah,
it's
a big part.
I'm an emotional eater, and I know that, you know, things taste so much better when I'm pissed off at somebody. So, you know, with me being an emotional eater and crossing paths with emotional eaters and understanding that, like you said, sometimes, like when I was a personal trainer full time, we would have clients, and I'm like, your body is going through this imbalance, and your hormones are all over the place, and you might be. I remember one time working out with a client, and she was biking, and just in the middle of the session of her bike, she just bust out in tears. And I was like, just let it out, because like, you know, and while you're crying about it, understand why you're crying, understand what this feels like. And even when I did my boot camps and people were like, oh, your workouts are really hard. I'm like, remember, this is day 1. Right. We all have a day 1. And if we remember what day 1 is like, we don't usually try to go back to that because we remember what it was like. But there's always an opportunity to grow and progress from where you are. So, yeah. So Marge, take us to when your magazine, when you first saw yourself in the magazine. Where were you? What did it feel like?
I was at the Walmart actually, because my husband dragged me to every store when he found out it was out. And he's like, we saw it, and it was like, wait a minute, this is right. It's almost creepy, because then, you know, you're looking around, and it's like, does anybody notice me? People see this? So, did they see me on TV? Are they going to say anything? You know, are they looking in my shopping cart? Oh my God, I have ice cream. What am I going to do? You know, and it was really freaky and a real mind game, you know, and it was amazing, but yet I was scared to death, because I'm like, okay, what do I do now? What happens if someone comes up to me and said, you know, you look skinnier in the magazine? It's like, what do you do? What if my neighbors see me without makeup? And then finally I just had to say, you know what? I have to be me no matter what I do.
Definitely.
You're going to see me without makeup. You're going to see me a few pounds heavier, a few pounds lighter, whatever, because that's life, you know. And
definitely life.
60s, I don't need to be, you know, a size 2.
Right. So Roberta, when you first saw your magazine, where were you, and what was your response?
I honestly don't remember. I probably found it in like a Giant Eagle or like a CVS or something. Giant Eagle is like Pittsburgh, like, or big like shopping food grocery shopping place. I really don't remember. And honestly, the pictures were terrible, and like the first magazine that I was in, they were terrible, and I didn't like them anyway. So I was like, all of that for this photo? Like,
oh my gosh.
I was like, all of that for this photo? So I really, but I do remember being scared though. Like I do remember being scared, and Yeah, it was more for me. It was more about being like exposed. Like I just wanted to like live my life as like a regular person, not like, you know, I was very proud of myself that I had accomplished this thing, but the fact that you have to share it with like so many other people, and you're right, it's like, oh, if someone sees me, you know, if I have ice cream or muffins in my shopping cart or something, like what are they gonna say? You know, like what if, you know, like it was just like that kind of feeling, and it was more about being like exposed, like more exposed than like anything else. So I don't remember where I was. I do know that I was unhappy with
you know, I think I was at the time I was doing home health care for a retired psychologist. He was quadriplegic, and we were having a conversation, and one of my cousins called me, and she was like, because you know, when I was doing my interview, they never gave me a definitive date as of when
they never do.
It might be in the January issue, or it's going to be in the spring issue. And I'm like, okay, well, it's not coming until the springtime, whatever.
Yeah.
So February, my cousin called. She was like, I'm looking at you in the magazine. And I'm at work, you know, trying to feed this guy. And I'm like, no, I'll call you back shortly. So I call her back, and I was excited. He can tell that I was kind of antsy and excited. So he asked, what's going on? And I said, well, my cousin just said that I'm in the magazine because, of course, I'm working with him. So he's going through the interview process with me. And he's like, you got to go buy some right now. So he, you know, I went to the Jewel, because, you know, Jewel is in Chicago, or in the Chicago area. And walked into the store, saw myself on page 72 in 2006, January People magazine, half their size, and called my mom while I'm standing in the middle of the store. Like, I'm looking at the picture, and I'm like, this is me. And I'm saying it in the middle of the store. The guy was just looking at me. I called my mom, but she happened to be like, I think she was in Walgreens or something like that. She picked up the magazine and turned to the page, and she's telling people in the store, this is my son. I said, Mom, they don't believe you. You don't look alike. So, I think I'm not going to say I probably was a little scared, because I thought that my life was going to change drastically. You know, I didn't really think that I was going to have to quit my job and I was going to become an overnight celebrity and people were going to be knocking at my door, because I've always been a really humble person when it comes to my accomplishments. You know what I'm saying? Because I took it as an opportunity for me to allow myself to be open enough for people to ask me questions. You know, what did you go through emotionally? What did you go through physically? And even now, people still are asking me, and I'm like, trust me, the workout regimen I have right now, and the work schedule that I have right now, you don't want to on my work schedule. And then the pandemic came and shut everything down, so I can't go to the gym and be as motivated as I usually am.
Right.
I don't want to go through my workout regimen. So let's fast forward a little bit. So y'all said that you were in there, because I hold on, because I got the magazines. I got some of them.
Oh, you know, man, that's awesome.
I have something, because I don't know who my inside connect was, but somebody emailed me from People magazine and was like, hey, Tyrell, do you need more magazines? She sent me like 10 magazines every time I was in the magazine. And I'm like,
magazines.
I don't know who she was. She just hit me up out of nowhere, out of People magazine. And she was like, you need some more magazines? I got some. She sent me like 10 each time I was in. But
wow.
Let me see this.
This
is July 4th, 2014, on page 7. We got Marge.
Oh God.
Okay, yeah, I have that. I'm in that one. Yeah, I'm in that one. So okay, right.
Yeah, you're in this one too. You are in this one too.
The All-Star, yeah.
You are, yep. Yeah, this all, and here you are right here. Yep, Roberta.
Yeah.
And I'm in this one too. I'm also on the back. So, you know, yeah. And I'm thinking this one is a special edition. This is June 30th, 2017. I got Roberta. Marge, you didn't make it. I didn't see you in this one, but here's Roberta in that one.
No, I don't think I was in that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see that image with the red shirt on? That was my
This one?
Yeah, that was the first. That's 2003. It's a terrible photo.
Oh, okay.
Do you keep in touch with anybody that you were in your first magazines with?
You know, I originally reached out to some people because, like I was telling Roberta, like when all of this was like on a craze and people were actually looking for it, I actually threw the idea and I actually emailed somebody at People magazine that they should do have their size like a tour, so people can have an opportunity to meet us and see us and talk to us. And, if we, teach aerobic classes or personal trainer, did like, meal prep, like, I think, Roberta, you have your app and I see you do your salads all the time. And I'm like, I wish I could be more, committed like Roberta. And I threw that out to People Magazine and even some people who I was trying to build a group of us. We can come to each other's city and do some kind of, half their size, where are they now, wellness seminar kind of thing. And I never heard anything back from anybody. I think everybody got scared and kind of fell off. And me, I'm the kind of person like, hey, I throw it out there. I'm willing to take the reins if I have to. But if you say you're going to be a part of it, I'm going to hold you accountable for being a part of it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I keep in touch with one of the girls that was in my magazine. And unfortunately, like you were talking about before, when we came out in the magazine, everybody wanted to take us out to dinner and celebrate and have a few drinks and celebrate. Well, she took that to the extreme and ended up putting more on that she had lost.
Wow.
So luckily I've been Zooming with her. So I've been training her, and like, hey, let's just do this. Let's get you, let's try to get you healthy. I don't care where you get back to. Let's just get you healthy.
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing now. And I think one of the other guys that was in my magazine also fell off and did the same thing. But I think people need to know that.
Exactly. And because life happens. And at this point, and I keep talking about the pandemic came through and shut everything down for everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody's life was halted. Everybody's life was changed and is still continuing to be changed.
Absolutely.
So, with us being almost like the flagship of motivation, because we made it to People Magazine, and there's been hundreds of people who have made it to this magazine. I feel like, we need to show them that there's reality. When I was personal training full time and teaching classes full time, I was 195 pounds, but hey, I work a regular job where I'm sitting on my butt all day long.
There you go.
Usually the easiest meals to get are not the healthiest meals. And that's kind of where I'm kind of building back to now. Like, and I said I'm going to do a class. It's going to be called Reality Check, because at this point, there's been a lot of people who haven't been going to the gyms or haven't been able to participate in anything physical. And we need to do some kind of reality check where it's like, yeah, I still, go through the drive-through in McDonald's, and I still have junk food in my cabinet. So I guess in the magazine, people in their minds make up who you are,
right,
based on what they see. And then when they see you being a real person, I don't know what to even say that they do, but it's not a positive thing, and it's almost like a guilt trip for having a bag of chips, and it's like, I'm a real person.
Biggest Loser, right?
Yeah.
Well, they hired me as a motivational speaker and flew me out to Malibu for 2 weeks.
Wow.
And everyone was doing great. And then they asked me to explain what my experience was. And I said, well, I don't know if you want me to explain my experience because I don't have a positive one for you.
Right.
And they were like, well, what do you mean? I said, well, you have this big group of people. I said, and it's marvelous what you're doing. I said, but you have their whole life planned in 8 hours. So we wake up, we do yoga. We go on a 5-mile hike. Then we have breakfast. Then we have another class. Then we do lunch. And I said, you need to explain to these people once they leave here, they have a full-time job.
Yeah.
And they have to take everything that you've done for them in that 8 hours and put it into 1 hour. I said, how you're teaching them isn't feasible. They're not going to work out like this on their own.
Yep. Yeah. And like Roberta said,
I always thought that they have like, $100,000 trainers. They have, all of the best access to the best resources. They have food that's already made for them. Like, It's not a realistic thing. It's like, while you're there, sure, you should absolutely take advantage of it. But that's not real life. Like
we would sit down and the chef would bring us our food. It's like, well, okay, so why don't you have us preparing our own food then?
Right.
At the ranch.
Yeah.
Instead of
skills. Yeah.
Yeah. And instead of teaching us how to look over our shoulder and wait for our food to come. You know, it's just what
Exactly.
teaching wasn't feasible, wasn't lifelike.
Reality.
Yeah.
It wasn't reality at all, because when you take them out of their reality and put them in luxury, because basically that's what it was. You got somebody designing your entire day, cooking for you, feeding you, keeping you on a schedule, when that's not reality at all.
And you couldn't even leave the ranch unless it was a Wednesday night, and then there was 2 hours that you could get on the van and go to a venture. But then everyone bought all kind of snacks and candy and brought it back to their cabin. Well, what's that? You know,
that would be me. I got the Twinkies, the Twizzlers.
But it's like, it's one of those things where you have the opportunity of a lifetime, and I always think that way. It's like you get this one shot to have all of these things done for you, and you don't want to mess it up. But again, you still have to go back to real life, like your everyday, you know, candy like on the side of the street, donuts at work every day, cake in the kitchen, you know. So
yeah.
And so I guess it was a great segue into things when we were talking about preparing meals and things like that. Roberta has an app. Is your app? You still have your app, don't you? And I see that your videos, and you have a cookbook and things like that. Like, people went on to, you know, after People Magazine, to do things that I was like, oh, I wish I could have done a cookbook. I hate writing. I can talk all day long, but I don't want to sit down and write. That is me. I know me. That's my transparency. And I would love to write a book, but I'm like, I don't want to sit down and write it. So I'm gonna have to hire a ghostwriter.
But yeah.
And Roberta has a cookbook, and she's got an app. So Roberta, tell us about your cookbook. What made you come up with the cookbook? What made you come up with the app? What it all entails?
Okay, so I have 2 cookbooks. I have them here. So the first one is simply Tabbtastic, because my last name is Tabb, and the next one is Tabbalicious. So I came up with simply Tabbtastic just because I've been meal prepping every Sunday for probably the past 8 years or something, 7, 8 years or something. And I do them like not live, but I do like a progression of all of the foods that I'm making in my Instagram feed, in my story. And, you know, hundreds of people would watch and screenshot, and then I get questions like afterwards, you know, like, oh, but how does it taste? You know, do you really eat this all week long? Blah, 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 blah. So for me, it's like, and then people are like, oh, you know, can I pay you to meal prep for me? No, you can't pay me to meal prep for you, but I'll show you how to do it for your own self. You know, I meal prep because, one, I don't want to spend money on lunch and breakfast when, you know, I'm at work in New York City. I'm going to spend $25 on food every day. It's absolutely I'll never do it. I will never do it. So, so I figured, you know, all of the recipes that I use frequently, the infused waters, the smoothies, things like that, I can put them into a book form. And specifically with simply Tabbtastic, most of the meals are 5 ingredients and or less.
Oh, I like that.
Wow, yeah.
5 ingredients or less, and they're very, very common ingredients. So, you know, I have you using the same ingredients but in different recipes. You know, you would use, you know, strawberries in a salad for lunch, but you'd also have like strawberries in some kind of yogurt parfait for breakfast as well. So definitely. I also offered shopping lists, like a $40 shopping list, a $50 shopping list, you know. And I made things very simple and very, very basic because I don't want people to get intimidated by like healthy ingredients. So they're very simple vegetables, very simple fruits, very easy, very, very easy recipes that, you know, really, if people really put, you know, the research into it, that they could find for themselves. I just put them all in a book, and it's literally like, this is just the guide to get you started. Like, if you look at how simple these recipes are and how you can interchange them, and, you know, how few calories and, you know, how low fat they are, then, you know, you take this as a guide and then you can run with it. That was simply Tabbtastic. Then I wrote Tabbalicious, which is indulgent meal prep recipes. And a lot of those recipes are recipes that you can make a lot of, but they don't have like a lot of calories. So it's like it's like roasted Brussels sprouts and roasted okra, things like that. You know, it's like things that you can make a lot of. You can eat all of it at the same time and not like gain 100 pounds, or you know, split it up into like, you know, meal prep meals. So that's that's how the books came about. Specifically because I got tired of people asking me if I could cook for them, or, you know, just repeatedly asking me questions. Like, I can show you how to do this. And as soon as you get acclimated to doing it yourself, you know, then you can do it for yourself and you can create other recipes. And all of the techniques are very, very simple. So that's how the books came about.
And people need that now, is simple. Simple.
Yeah.
People need simple. That's what it is. People get so intimidated by eating healthy. They get intimidated by, you know, healthy ingredients, and then they're like, "Oh no, it's too expensive to eat healthy." And I'm like, I'm not out here spending $200 a week. Like, I'm not. Trying.
All they got to do is break it down, and it's easier.
Yeah, but
and I think people need to get out of the mindset of not wanting to eat repetitiously. You know, a lot of people like I don't want to eat the same thing every day. It's like, until you get what you need to under control, you have to, number one, you got to make sure that your body is getting the nutrients that it needs.
Right.
And number two, you need to make sure that it's doing something that's not breaking your bank, because you have to base everything on what you can afford, not what I can afford, not what you watch on TV. You know, even when I talked about, if you can't afford these things, don't go try to break the bank just because somebody tells you you got to spend $200 a week on meal prep stuff. Look at your budget, find out what you can do, and then figure out what in those things are doable. Because people, it's not really that expensive to eat healthy enough for you to survive. You know, a lot of people have been brought up on certain things, specifically, you know, me being a Black man, we were brought up in, you know, a lot of seasonings and gravy and sugars and things like that. So it's like,
I'm Polish and Irish, so why have
exactly? So, you want the taste of things, and it's like and I think, you know, having to change, because you can change your taste buds, and I tell people that all the time. You can change your taste buds. So once you learn how this tastes better than what you're used to take, you know, fried chicken, it's delicious, but you can also eat something a little healthier, right? I've never had the fried, like the cauliflower that look like little bitty buffalo chicken, but I've seen it done, and I want to actually do it probably in the next couple of weeks. But I've seen it done, and I'm like, oh, that looks so good, but I need to learn how to trick my mind that this is not fried chicken, because I really want some fried chicken.
Well, having it every once in a while isn't going to kill you either.
Yeah.
You know, I totally agree with that. There's definitely room for like indulging once you're already like doing the work. And like you said, you have to learn to change the way that you eat. Like, I mean, I grew up, you know, my parents were super soulful, fried everything, lots of sugar, lots of salt, lots of butter, and like everything. But now, like, I don't like actually crave those things. Like, the food that I make is really delicious. So I look forward to, you know, I indulge in like, you know, the heavy soul food once or twice a year, but for every day, I mean, and I think that people don't realize that when you start to eat healthier, you literally feel better. Like, I remember when I first started like eating clean, like eating very clean, I didn't know I could feel so good. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Just in like, I wasn't bloated, you know, I wasn't gassy, you know, my mind was clearer. And I was like, I never felt this way before. Is it because I never ate clean before? So I think people don't realize how good they can actually feel just by eating more clean.
And people expect things to happen overnight.
Yes.
They have to give themselves a chance. A couple of weeks. You know, it takes 3 weeks to form a habit. So give yourself that 3 weeks. Don't expect everything to change overnight. You're not going to give
up on themselves way too quickly. They give up on themselves way too quickly.
Yeah. And what I also hear, I like to, I guess, deflate when I talk to people, because it turned to a big head kind of thing. Oh, I used to be able to do this when I was 22, and I'm like, yeah, we're not 22 anymore, so we can't do that.
So,
you know.
Let's kind of act our age.
Exactly. It's like, because I'll be 40 years old this year. And I'm like, yeah, my first time being in a magazine, I was 23, 24, 25, something like that. And I remember the day of the magazine, like because I was also in the newspaper here in Atlanta. And the day I did my photo shoot for that, I had just come from Burger King. And I was like, I wouldn't dare eat a Burger King Whopper on my way to a photo shoot for weight loss and expect it not to instantly show up in this picture. So now I'm about to be 40 years old. My body is like, try it if you want to. These knees are not the same. Not the same. Metabolism is screwed at this point. Yep. So try it if you want to.
It ain't gonna work.
Yeah. So as of right now, I mean, well, you have the app and you have the books. Is your app still up? You still got your app, Roberta?
Oh, no, yeah. So the app is still, of course. Like so the app was actually born in quarantine.
Okay. Yeah. So
I had. So there's a story there too. So I'm like working from home, and I live in New York City, so I'm working from home. I'm like not going outside. I like went out to run like every single day. But that's like, 45 minutes. And then I would like maybe go to the grocery store like once a week or something. So I had all of this extra time because I'm not commuting to work. I'm not going to the gym. So I had like all this extra time. So I'm like,
right.
I was going to write so I was working on writing another book initially, but then I really started paying attention to like my social media and like my Instagram. I saw that a lot of like my top posts were like my affirmation posts. And it really seemed like people were like struggling, like people were really struggling for like motivation and like inspiration. Like there were some really dark days, like in the very beginning of the pandemic. It got like really, really, really dark. And then, all of the social justice stuff happened, and it was a really terrible time. So I started thinking about it, and I'm like, I have all of this content that I potentially could use and like put somewhere. So, and I'm on the computer, like I'm a web designer. I'm on the computer all the time anyway, right? So I was like, what can I do? What can I do that one is a challenge for myself, and two, that will help people? What can I put out there that would give something back to people and, enrich them and enrich myself at the same time? So I came up with, and I always wanted to like make an app, but I didn't realize that I would be like developing it and like coding it my own self. So I literally gave myself a goal. I taught myself to write Xcode, and so the app is basically positive affirmations, healthy recipes, and daily reminders. So
awesome.
It sends you like a motivational, inspirational, like daily reminder, like every morning before you get up. And then it feeds into different Roberta rules, which are like different intentions to set for yourself. And there's just a wealth of like different posts in there about, 5 things that you should do every morning, 5 things you should do before you go to sleep, like things like that. And then like a bunch, like just bunches and bunches of like different healthy recipes that you can sort through, like breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks and things like that. So it's just a wealth of information that I basically just all put in the same place because I had it like all like somewhere anyway. So it was just
that's cool.
Yeah, thank you. It was a really, really fun project. It was challenging, and honestly, like I'm thrilled that if even one person a day, if they get inspired by, something that I wrote, or, my morning reminder, gives them like a kick in the butt to like get out of bed and be positive or go work out or something.
Oh, that is awesome. Oh my gosh. So Marge, what is it that you have? I know you have the gym inside your house, you're doing Zoom. What else is it that you are doing that we need to highlight?
Well,
after People Magazine.
I did write a book.
Okay, so
yeah, it's called Too Much Me.
I did see that. It's called hold it up a little more. Hold it up a little more. Too Much Me. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just there was too much of me, and it's Too Much Me Journey to a Change.
Okay.
So I was great, but there was just too much of me.
Yeah.
So it's a quick read. It's sarcastic in some spots.
Yeah.
Some people say, Marge, I can hear you as I'm reading this book. Because there's one part, and every time I would go to the doctor, he would tell me I'd need to lose weight. So at one point I looked at him and I said, I'm fat and I'm not stupid. And that's exactly what I tell them. And that's the things that are in here. And I tell people, don't beat yourself up. If you have a cheat day, okay, don't kill yourself. Go out the next day and start over again.
Yeah.
And it's just the story of how I was always obese and how I decided, of course I collapsed on a dance floor. So that kind of,
wow,
made it aware. But the next day I just thought, you know what, I have to change. And I started with 5 minutes on a treadmill every day at the gym. And then I'd go to 6 minutes because I was well over 400 pounds. So it was kind of hard to go much farther.
Exactly.
So, and then it just developed into a lifestyle change. And that's what I explain to people is don't think this is a short journey.
Right.
Once you start this, it has to be a lifestyle change.
Yeah.
You have to wrap your mind around it in order for your body to do it.
Right.
It's 75% mental and 25% physical because your body is not going to do what your mind doesn't tell it to.
Sure.
Exactly. And it's not a short journey and it's not a temporary thing.
Right. It's a lifestyle change.
Yeah.
And you have to be committed.
Definitely.
So, and that's what the book is about. It's just how I became committed and how I stayed committed. So
where can we get the book?
You can get it on Amazon. You can get it anywhere online. Are your books on Amazon also?
Yes.
Good.
You can just search for my name.
Okay, cool.
Awesome. Wow. This has been amazing.
Yeah, this has been fun. We should do this more often.
We definitely need to. I would love this. So, if you know anybody else that's been in a magazine, I would love to do something like this. And I still want to do the, I called it the world tour, the people magazine.
Let's do it. Let's figure it out. Let's get some people. Let's do it. I'm for it.
I'm all for it too. I said, I think it would be a really good thing because I think now people are becoming more aware of not only their physical health, but their mental health. And they're realizing how much they work together, because before it was like put somebody with a nice body on a commercial and make everybody want to look like them. It doesn't matter if they, struggle with things mentally, just look good, Now mental health and physical health are finally meeting that crossroad where the puzzle pieces are fitting together. So I feel like it will be a really good time for people to see our reality of, this is what you saw in the magazine. This is what's really going on. Like, y'all may think we work out 8 hours a day. And even if we are in the gym 8 hours a day, that doesn't mean we're focused on those 8 hours just for us.
Right.
Like, you got your personal training clients. Roberta, you got your job. I'm working with the public every day. And when I tell you every day I come home doing one of these.
Oh, man.
But before we go, because it's been just about an hour, go ahead and tell everybody where they can find you at, like on your social media or anything like that, because I would love to, like I said, continue to do this and continue to help us grow and support each other. Marge, where can everybody find you at?
I'm on Facebook. You can find me on Facebook, Marge King Lyse, and I'm at Marge1959 on Instagram.
Okay.
And same for Twitter. So you can find me almost anywhere. And I also have a Facebook page, Too Much Me, for my fitness. So there's a lot of stuff out there. So yeah, I'm simple.
and Roberta, where can everybody find you?
I am the Roberta Show everywhere. Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest. I'm everywhere is at the Roberta Show. And you can find my app in the App Store, and it's called Tabb app, TABBAPP.
Oh, cool.
Or you can search for Roberta Tabb, like either one.
Right. So, everybody, thank you all for tuning in. This was an amazing show. I look forward to doing this again with the ladies. And there's my mom right there. She said, "Congratulations to us all." Hi, Mom.
Hi, Mom.
So yeah, thank you all for tuning into the show. And like I said, I am definitely going to start working on this. Where Are They Now? People magazine.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
On the tour thing. So if anybody is watching and they know somebody who can help us get this thing or get this bar rolling, let's do it. And until next time, I'm Tyrell, and this is the Let's Heal podcast. See y'all later. Bye. Thank y'all for joining me, ladies.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right.